South Point Sportsbook at the tip of the strip in the VSiN studio, right alongside here in Michael Gaughan's South Point Casino and Hotel. And we welcome in the Gold Contest winner-take-all, Mr. George King of Las Vegas. And George, welcome. And by the way, congratulations. You did a great job of handicapping, my friend.
Well, thank you very much.
Well, I was going to say, Brent, this guy's a legitimate king. He's not like LeBron, self-proclaimed, and he didn't need somebody else to take the shot for him.
No, he took his own shot all season long. I have to tell you a little anecdote that I became aware of. Dave Tooley, of course, one of our VSiN writers, and does an outstanding job of coverage of contests, among other things, and you hear him on all our various VSiN shows. George, I'm told that he was actually watching with you on the final Sunday, that you two were watching as the games wound down, but you didn't mention a word to him that you had won the gold contest. You were keeping that little tidbit to yourself. Tell me about that.
Well, I was concerned about competitive advantage next year. First of all, nobody had connected the dots between SquarePants, which is my alias in the Classic contest, and There Can Be Only One, which is my alias in the Gold contest. So initially, it was sort of a follow-through move. I just didn't want to give up that anonymity and still be able to use SquarePants next year. Also, I'm a lawyer with the federal government, and we've never had a Super Contest winner before, so I had to go through legal and media reps and all that to get clearance before I knew if I could do media. So for both of those reasons, I kind of kept my poker face on while we were watching the game.
Indeed. All good reasons, by the way, I might add. George, tell me, what 5 teams did you back that last Sunday in the Super Contest Gold that led you to the win? Tell me who you had that final weekend.
I had Carolina, Houston, Atlanta, the Colts, and Denver.
Denver.
Interesting.
Nice.
Huh?
Very good. Did you have those 5 in both contests?
I could have used a different strategy over in the Classic, but when it was coming down to the wire, I just used the same picks.
You did.
But
okay.
I had 2 entries in the Classic, so what I did there, I hedged those. I figured if out of the 3 entries, I had a shot at about $900,000, but I also had a downside of about $3,200 if I lost the gold and both of my Classic picks cratered.
Right.
So I'm not very well off at the moment. I tried to retire early, and that sort of went sideways. So $40,000 was a decent recovery for me, so I locked that in by hedging those 2 Classic picks, and that cost me about $120,000.
You know, Brent, I'm so happy you shared that with us because, first of all, kudos to you and congratulations.
Yes.
I love when somebody engages or enters into something like this, and they really benefit for it. If Bill Gates tells me he enters into, I'm like, big deal.
Right.
But I'm so happy. I just take me through your mentality or mind watching the late game when you have this much hinging on it, because realistically, let's be real, most people are never going to be in that situation where you've got a several $100,000 swing based on 3.5 hours. Luckily, you had a Stanford guy going for you, so you liked your chances.
Well, in 2004, I almost won the Super Contest Classic, my first year in it.
Okay.
And I missed it by a field goal. I think I had the Jets, and they missed their field goal in overtime, and the Rams got theirs. And so I went from winning the thing with tiebreakers to finishing tied for 4th. That was a $220,000 swing on a missed field goal. That's 15 years ago.
By the way, nobody's seen that kicker since.
So
George sees him every day in his dreams.
So I'm a little bit philosophical when there's that much money on the line, at least not money I've put out, but money I could have won. And in this instance, at some point in the afternoon, I had a guaranteed $200,000 plus in the gold and whatever I made in the Classic. By the Sunday night game, I had $320 in the gold and whatever I made in the Classic. So I was sitting pretty good. When I walked up to Dave at the second half over at the Westgate, he's going, "You got butterflies?" And I got, "No, I've already got 6 figures," which was kind of a slip of the tongue because in the Classic, which is about, I really didn't have 6 figures locked in quite yet, but I knew I did. So yeah, he missed a couple of hints along the way.
Well, fascinating.
Now, I'm sorry.
No, please.
So was this your first year in the Classic? Because last year was the first year of the Classic. Did you play in it last year as well, George?
I've done the Classic all the way from 2004.
I'm sorry, and the Gold.
But the gold, last year I couldn't afford it. I couldn't get $5,000 together. This year I was scrambling, like we talked about earlier. I had a very good alias. There can be only one, which is perfect for that contest. And I wanted to use it before they expanded the prize pool out. And so I, did the seat cushions and everything, and found $5K to get in there.
Hey, Brent, we're not getting this kind of return on Netflix or any of these other stocks the way he did in 17 weeks, right?
Yes, okay.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
George, if you have trouble getting a 5K to come next August, just come on down here, okay? I got a no-interest loan for you, my friend, okay?
That can be only VSIN.
George, I have a question for you without disclosing how you kind of come to this, but you being an attorney, obviously a cerebral guy, do you kind of use a combination of analytics, review data? What is kind of a mentality or approach that you use? And then did you play many Thursday night games, if any at all, throughout the course of the season?
No Thursday night games at all. I mean, I'm working, so
Sure.
Even with the sort of dumbed-down approach that I used for this year, it takes all that time for me to get through my process. I'm putting my picks in at 10:45 on Saturday morning.
Wow.
Every week, same routine. So
Same
you follow
routine every
a
week.
routine like a ball player would follow.
It's very important. It's like
Yeah.
I've trained the people at work not to ask me how I did, because I don't want the highs of 5 and 0s and 4s and
Sure.
1s or the lows to throw me off. So I basically just stick to my same thing. The week's over, you get ready for the next week.
So how many 5 and O's did you have, George, in the goal?
That I can't recall. 'Cause like I say, I tend to forget from week to week. I know in the stretch coming down the stretch, I was 12-3, and I had a 5 and 0 in that stretch.
In that stretch, that final home stretch. And did you cash over in the Classic too with your 2 entries over there?
A little bit over $150,000.
And the Gold paid how much to the winner? Winner takes
$640, so I got $791 and change.
I knew it was good when Brent dropped the pen.
For somebody who has been very close to few a couple of times, I mean, my employers called me back from retirement twice, and each time it was like, yes, I don't care if it's football season, I'll come. To get that, it's a big deal. It's a very big deal.
Now, George, you have a bit of a Southern accent, and I ask you. Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Right?
Yeah.
So did you grow up an LSU Tiger fan down there, or tell me about your...
We moved around a lot. I was born in Tuscaloosa, so I can always hedge my bets with Bama when they're winning, at least.
Right.
But I lived in Louisiana for most of my life.
By the way, Brent, didn't win this contest. I would have thought it was rigged. You brought in somebody from the SEC today.
Well, I feel bad.
Yeah.
George,
George, I'll lick at our wounds.
Do you participate in college football?
Not at all.
No, just strictly NFL pro football.
When I started, I wasn't out here, so I didn't have a bunch of sharp inputs. So I just looked at 32 teams versus 120 teams. It seemed like less of a workload. Now, I mean, the conventional wisdom out here is college is easier, but I'm so locked in, and I do fairly well with the NFL, so I stay with it.
Good for you. Good for you.
George, you said something to me before out there that fascinated me, because there is so much chatter. And I tend to listen to chatter, and I tend to read what everybody's got to say. And who does this guy like? Who does that guy like? You operate differently. You tend to close things out, right? So that
Correct.
You're just focused yourself on how you like to handicap games. Do I have that right?
I stay in my process. If it's good, I'm afraid it'll knock me off. If it's bad, I don't want it bouncing around in my subconscious as I'm cutting down to 5 picks.
However, there was one VSIN show that you did like, and that was Between the Sidelines with Matty Humans, right?
Yes, in week 17, I was able to get through my process, as it were, on Friday. I still wanted to get some input on like Buffalo, Miami.
Right.
So I spun that up off the archives, and it was the Between the Sidelines with Scott Kellen, Aaron Renning, and Matt Humans. And
good handicappers.
it was a very, very good program. I mean, it's the kind of thing, if I needed help, I definitely would have looked there. And even if I didn't agree with everything that they specifically talked about, I had all my yeah buts already in place, and it was good to sort of have them as a foil. Because for Buffalo, I just didn't see the move from 3.5 on. It was a good 3.5 for me, and I don't really make lines and power rankings and all that.
Okay.
But I was just concerned about that game. I saw the scenario of the game where Miami pulled back, and got even, and that's what I saw possibly for the whole game. So even though it was a highly mathematically advantaged play, I was leery of being on it. In fact, I wasn't on it because of that, but I wanted to hear their input on it.
Now,
go ahead. Sorry, Brent. George, some of the listeners may want. Do you watch every game? Do you, for instance, were you at a book? Were you?
I've got Sunday tickets.
So you stay home and you watch every game. You watch what's okay.
Right.
And then you go through the box scores as well. I mean, or you just see enough when you from the visual aspect.
I match the teams up statistically.
Got it.
And I've got several other things I'll look at, particularly, like I said, I dumbed this season down. I wanted to stay in shape as much as anything else. So I dialed my analysis down extremely much until the last week, and then I took that week off and did what I normally do. But I had some very good research over in the summer. I've researched the mathematically advantaged lines approach for here on Dave Tooley's website. We did a series back in 2011 where we basically ran the question, can you win the Super Contest just playing stale lines? And I've continued to track that approach over the years. And what my takeaway is, you can't win the Super Contest. You can get close, tantalizingly close, because it has a good floor. But the upside on that strategy is just not enough to win the Super Contest. But it still has, the math is still very strong. So I'm gauging that, looking at that through the week, particularly this year, as I had a dumbed-down strategy, because I'm looking at only focusing on a few plays. So I look at a number of things like that and other things I researched during the offseason that complement that, and that helps me get on high percentage plays.
George, now will you bet back on individual games? Did you in the wild card weekend? And how about the divisional playoffs? Will you take a position?
I'm back at work and back trying to work out since I haven't been working out since November.
Okay.
It's kind of hard for me in the playoffs because you only got 4 games, and a large part of what I do is the cut down from 13 to 16 to 5 games. You take away that selectivity, and that's a big deal for a big part of what I do. So I'm always reminded when I do bet on the division and the wild card rounds how much of an advantage that is. Okay. But this year, between trying to figure out whether I could do the media that I've done, and like I say, working and working out, I just haven't sat down and applied that same rigorous approach to those 4 games each week because I've been on the clock for 17 weeks.
Right.
And I'm finally off. So, yeah, as a tout, it would be great. I would be on here saying these are great games. You know, it's a great time of year to bet, and it's a great time to get my picks. But I'm not a tout, so I don't have to do that.
Brent, I'll tell you what. I love this guest. First of all, 2 things. Number one, he gave the greatest pub for vsin.com why you should subscribe. He went back and listened in Week 17, so a lot of people can do that retroactively. And number 2, the other point that he made that I really like is he kind of tunes everything else out. He doesn't want to get paralysis by overanalysis. Yep. And I want you and Vinny to heed that. That's why I don't listen to you guys that often.
Touche.
I take the bets. You make the bets.
Oh, that's great, George King. Congratulations again, and thanks so much for sharing some of those great moments with us. We love hearing the stories, and I second what Amal said. I'm always, when a big lottery goes down, I'm always happy. Yeah. When somebody scores, I say, "Oh, I could use that money for doing some good things," and I know you will. So thanks, George, and congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. Pleasure being here.
Okay.
Well done.
George King, he won the gold, and he cashed a couple of tickets also in the Classic, a big winner this year over at the Westgate Super Contest. We're going to take a break. We're coming up on the top of the hour, and I do want to quickly look at the NBA and the National Hockey League for some 4 o'clock starts. vsin.com, Sirius XM 204.
It's My Guys in the Desert with Brent Musburger, only on the Vegas Stats and Information Network. Keep up to date with everything in the world of sports gaming by going online at vsin.com.